Hello, everybody. Hello, YouTube. Hello, art history enthusiasts and visual culture aficionados. It's me again, Miss M, and I'm back with post-nasal drip. My allergies have been doing a number on me lately. And I guess that's just that time of the year. And I can't do anything about it other than take Benadryl and, hope for the best. I've noticed, in all of these ads and everything for these, different stores or whatever, lots and lots of ads for allergy medications. I'm not going to mention any of the names because none of them are sponsoring me. But my God, my post-nasal drip, my congestion, my big, heavy, painful, watery eyes, itching, burning, you name it. Okay, so, but that doesn't matter. I have a video to make for you all, for your enjoyment, for your consideration, for your fun, and for my fun. Today I'm going to do another Shining related video, and I'm really, really, really enjoying the videos that I've been making lately because of this subject, this movie, because they've been leading me to all kinds of research and all kinds of education and all kinds of learning. And speaking of which, oh my God, I made this last night. Was it last night? 23 hours ago, yep. And I misspelled the word better in my PowerPoint presentation, and that's what happens when you're doing too many things at once, and that's what happens when you get an education in this country. You you don't you make mistakes. Okay, so I'm a product of a public school education, so there you go. So the one who pointed this out to me, I didn't even notice, was the Bartomon. Thank you for I can't do shit about it now. I mean, it's there, but whatever. I can't. I apologize. I apologize. And you know who else failed me? Not just the public education system, and the university education system too. You know who else failed me? Spell check. That rogue. Spell check. He could have said something, I talk about these machines like they're people, but or these computer programs or whatever they are. But thank you, Bartomon. Now I'm gonna you're right. I'm gonna obsess about it. So, but whatever. I'll do better next time, right? Just like this. That's the advice I gave in this video. Just do better next time, and I'll try. Let's hope I don't misspell anything today. But But speaking of education and my folly, I want to talk about a whole bunch of stuff today, okay, in regard to this movie that I've been obsessed with for a long time, and I'm finally putting my thoughts into some form that people can look at. I've been doing a lot of them, the Ursa thing, the Zayn thing, the diamonds and the crowns, and that's why I like this movie so much. It's a gateway to learning. It's a gateway to learning all kinds of things in all kinds of different subject areas, and especially, history, mythology, languages, I don't know Hebrew, but now I know the word Zayn. Okay? I'm never going to forget it. Not only did I learn it, I'm never going to forget that word. Now, today I want to continue doing these kinds of videos because I'm having so much fun researching. I haven't really had free time, but I've had some free time lately, and I decided to just, at night when I'm done with my day, I just pop open my laptop and I just start researching stuff regarding this movie. I'll look up some aspect of the movie and it'll take me down a rabbit hole that I just didn't expect. And I didn't expect what I'm going to show you today. Okay. I'm going to talk about the names. I don't know what I'm going to title this video. What's in a name? Maybe. maybe. Or a rose by a, no, not a rose by any other name. That's not at all what I'm doing here. But what's in a name? Specifically the names of the characters in this movie. And today I'm going to concentrate on the family. Okay, I'm going to concentrate on Jack, Wendy, and Danny. In another video, I might concentrate on the minor characters. Stuart Allman, Bill Watson, Susie the secretary. We don't know her last name, at least not from the movie. And Dick Halloran. Okay? I think it's important. And the stuff I found today, especially my conclusion, like my grand finale that I have planned for this video, it might just knock your socks off. So get ready. Go get something that you like drinking or consuming or whatever. It can be a cocktail. It can be a beer. It can be some rum mixed with something else like Coca-Cola. Or, Jack and Coke. Yeah, Jack Daniels, remember? The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Jack Daniels. So I guess Christianity is in this movie. I was saying in one of these videos that I've seen everything but Christianity. I take that back. No, there is. Jack Daniels is Christianity. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And we're approaching Palm Sunday, and we're approaching Holy Week. Oof. I love this time of the year because of all of the historical significance and all of the research I can do about obscure little things that nobody knows about or cares about. But for some reason, I just have to look them up. Okay, and this is an education. This movie is an education. They should teach it in school. They should teach, Shining 101, Shining 102, Shining 103. Yes, they should teach a full course on this movie. I don't know what department that would fall into in the school system. Is that humanities? Is that the arts, theater, film studies, the social sciences? Maybe we can even get like the science people in, like the natural sciences, math, chemistry, biology, engineering, who knows, right? Physics. Oh my God. I bet we can even go there, but I don't have the knowledge to go there. I have the knowledge to go into the realms of the social sciences and the humanities and the arts. That other side of campus, not for me. But maybe one of you can go into that sort of thing. Look at the numbers and what have you. So I'm going to talk about the names of the main characters, the family, Jack, Wendy, and Danny. And again, thank you, Bartomon, for pointing this out. I'm so happy you got a kick out of this video. I had fun making it, just rambling. But here's an article I found that I am not going to talk about in this video, but I wanted to show it to you. I'm going to talk about it in another video. The Shining Theory. This Shining Theory suggests Jack Torrance had the shine. This is from Screen Rant. One theory believes that Jack Torrance may have actually had similar abilities to his son, Danny, and it would explain much of the Shining story. I don't know if I agree with whatever this article is saying. But I'm going to look at it in another video, and this is kind of the article that kicked off my search today, that got me to thinking about the names of the family members, Jack, Wendy, Danny. And I don't think I agree very much with the theory presented in this article, but it's interesting because this is what a lot of people are starting to believe about this movie. And look at the shot they used of Jack, like just staring out into space. He looks odd. He just looks odd. But let's not dwell on that. Maybe in another video. Today I'm going to talk about, like I said, Jack, Wendy, Danny. And of course, Wikipedia is my best friend. So, as far as this kind of thing is concerned. So we have pages for each of the characters. At least the main characters, the family. I haven't looked up in Wikipedia. I haven't looked up Stuart Allman or Watson or Susie or Dick Halloran. No. But I've looked up Jack, Wendy, and Danny, and you won't believe what I found. So here's Jack Torrance. This is the main reason why I looked him up. And I wanted to see if there was a Wikipedia page for the characters because I wanted to know their full names. Okay. Jack's full name is John Daniel Edward, in quotations, Jack Torrance. He's the main antagonist in Stephen King's horror novel, The Shining. Okay. He was portrayed by Jack Nicholson in the novel's 1980 film adaptation by Stephen Webb. In the miniseries. Okay, yeah, so I don't care about any of those. I really don't. All I care about is his name. So there's, the biography in the novels, and they don't mention very much in the film, right? So I guess he's more sympathetic in the novel than he is in the movie, according to Wikipedia, right? And there are deviations. I mean, we know this. I have not read the novel, and I'm not going to, because I don't want to. I don't like Stephen King. I don't like his attitude about, how he treated Stanley. No. Just no, he doesn't deserve another reader. Not me, anyway. The film's major deviation, I'm reading from this page now, the film's first major deviation from the source material occurs when Jack attacks Halloran. This is really interesting, you guys. Instead of merely injuring him with the mallet, Jack kills Halloran by planting an axe in his chest. Okay. So, in the novel, Halloran doesn't die. He just gets injured, but he does manage to save Danny and Wendy. Okay? In the movie, not the book. In the movie, he dies. And it's interesting. So Stanley Kubrick takes the mallet out of Jack's hand and puts an axe in it for, when Jack is attacking and killing Halloran in the movie. To me, that is extremely interesting because it makes me feel less crazy about my work here with the Z's and everything. Okay, so that's one thing. And I'll talk more. I think I'll talk more. I'll probably talk more about this in another video. Not now, but I'm here to look up Jack's name, Wendy's name, Danny's name. John Daniel Edward Jack Torrance. That's a long-ass name. He's got 2 middle names, not 1. Okay, and his, John is, I guess, it's not... Jack is, it is short for John, but it's not really short because it's the same number of letters, same number of syllables, but Stanley played with this. That's what I think happened. I think Stanley definitely played with the names here and kind of without telling the audience emphasize certain things about the characters' names that are hard to detect because they can't be seen in the movie. You have to look shit up like I did tonight. So let me just get started and show you. Oh, before I really get started, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And also, new viewers, thank you for being new. Returning viewers, thank you for returning. And subscribers, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it so much. Now that we got that out the way, let's go. All right. I think I covered everything I wanted to on this page. Like I said, I think... I think if I think I'll probably be returning back to this at some point. So, but today, just the name. I just wanted the name. And now where did that lead me? Well, the first thing I thought of was this. Jack of all trades, master of none. All right. So, it's a figure of speech used in reference to a person who has dabbled in many skills rather than gaining expertise by focusing only on one. And I do believe this applies to our Jack. Yeah, I don't know if I should call him that, but in our Stanley's movie, definitely. I have to check because I'm not sure. My memory isn't good right now, but in the interview portion, you kind of get this feeling that Jack is a jack of all trades. He's been a teacher, now he's a writer, and he's about to become a caretaker. That's interesting. That's 3 jobs or job titles right there. And then in the argument, when he's arguing with Wendy about Danny, and Wendy says that she thinks they should go get a doctor or something, or she's concerned or something. I don't. When Jack comes back from room 237 and he has that blowout argument with Wendy in their bedroom, he says, "Oh, I could really, I could really write my own ticket if I quit this job. I could go work in a car wash. I could go shovel driveways. Is that what you want? So that's another jack of all trades kind of thing going on here. And this kind of made me think, like, where does this come from? This is why I looked this up. The original version, a jack of all trades, is often used as a compliment for a person who is good at fixing and has a good level of broad knowledge. They may be a master of integration, an individual who knows enough from many learned trades and skills to be able to bring the disciplines together in a practical manner. This person is a generalist rather than a specialist. Robert Greene used I don't know, Robert Greene, I guess he was an English author from 1558 to 1592, used the phrase absolute Johannes factorum rather than jack of all trades in his 1592 booklet, Greene's Groat's Worth of Wit, to dismissively refer to actor turned playwright. William Shakespeare. This is the first published mention of Shakespeare. Oh, in Robert Greene's book. Okay. Some scholars believe Greene was referring not to Shakespeare, but to resolute Johannes Florio, known as John Florio. That's interesting, too. I mean, Jack's given name is John, right? They have pointed out how Johannes was the Latin version of John, Giovanni, and the name by which Florio was known among his contemporaries. The term absolute is thought to be a rhyme for the nickname used by Florio in his signature Resolute, and the term factotum is thought to be used as a disparaging word for secretary, John Florio's job. That's interesting. Does this relate to our situation? Not our Jack, but our situation. It might. Especially if it comes from somebody calling somebody, actually named John or Giovanni in this way. This is interesting. And the full quotation. Yeah, so I thought about like this, and I found this, and I've just read it to you, and this is intriguing, is it not? I think, but it's definitely not the end of the story. It's definitely not the end of my investigation into this matter. So I looked something up too. I looked up the word Jack. Oh, excuse me, and. I don't know why that made me laugh, but it did. Okay. Look at all the definitions. Good heavens. A device for lifting heavy objects. A playing card bearing a representation of a soldier, page, or knave, normally ranking next below a queen. Number 3, a socket, designed to receive a jack plug. Number 4, a plug used in a jack socket, consisting of a shaft used to make a connection that transmits a signal, typically used in sound equipment. Number 5, in lawn bowling, the small ball at which the players aim. I didn't even know lawn bowling was a thing. Number 6, a game played by tossing and catching small round pebbles or star-shaped pieces of metal or plastic. Okay. Oh, like jacks, right? Okay. Informal US. This is interesting as well. Used as a form to address used as a form of address to a man whose name is not known. I find that intriguing. I really, really find that intriguing because, like, in old movies or whatever, when they say, hey, Jack, they're just talking to somebody that they haven't even learned that person's name yet. So, anybody, any man can be a jack in this usage of it. Informal, North American lumberjack. Archaic, a steeplejack. The figure of a man striding the bell on a clock. Okay. Number 7, a small version of a national flag flown at the bow of a vessel in harbor to indicate its nationality. Okay, like a Union Jack, I guess. Dated, informal. Number 8, dated, informal. Money. I didn't know that money was Jack, but it kind of is. I mean, look at what's going on with inflation. But never mind. Number 9, a device for turning a spit. Number 10, a part of the mechanism in a spinet or harpsichord that connects a key to its corresponding string and causes the string to be plucked when the key is pressed down. Okay. Number 11, a marine fish that is typically laterally compressed with a row of large spiky scales along each side. Jacks are important in many places as food or game fish. I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but I've heard of something called skipjack tuna. Is that what they're talking about here? I'm not sure. Number 12, the male of some animals, especially a merlin or an ass. Oh, such as like a jackass. Okay. Number 3, used in names of animals that are smaller than similar kinds. Example, jacksnipe. Oh boy. Informal U.S. Number 14, short for jack shit. Okay. Number 15, short for jackrabbit. There's also this down here, the origins of it. Middle English, Jack John, jackhammer, jackknife, cheap jack, lumberjack, steeplejack. In late Middle English, from jack, pet form of the given name John. The term was originally to denote an ordinary man, also a youth, hence the knave in cards and male animal. The word also denoted various devices saving human labor, as though one had a helper, jack, and in compounds such as jackhammer and jackknife. The general sense laborer arose in the early 18th century and survives in cheapjack, lumberjack, steeplejack, etc. Since the mid-16th century, a notion of smallness has arisen, hence jack. Yeah, okay, cool. Another term for blackjack, a sleeveless padded tunic worn by foot soldiers. Oh my God. Jesus. To jack. I guess it's a verb, yeah? It is a verb. To take something illicitly. Steal. Like carjack, or, somebody jacked your stuff, right? Number, no, this doesn't have a number. To rob somebody. They jacked him for his car. Okay. Wow. Who knew? I could keep reading. I really could. And I could click on all these links too, but I'm not going to do that. But you get the idea, don't you? There's so many definitions for this word. I am surprised. I am so surprised. But you know what? My quest did not end there. This stuff like this, one thing leads to another, Like I said, this is the gateway to education. So I'm gonna leave that alone, at least for now. And I'm gonna get back to, John Daniel Edward Torrance, later. Okay? Later. Because his son shares one of his middle names. So we're gonna talk about him. But I talked about Jack Torrance, Jack Daniel Edward Torrance. And we're just going to keep adding middle names. How about that? Every new video I make, I'll just add a new I'll just add a new middle name, like John Daniel Edward Torrance. We'll name it. You guys can think up new additional middle names for him, in the comments if you want to. That's a long name. for like, for a northern European in origin. And what I just mentioned that, and what that also makes me think is John Daniel Edward Torrance. That sounds snooty to me. That sounds like, like he comes from a ritzy little family. So, ordinary people, we have a first name, we have a last name, and we usually have a middle name, but that's about it. Like most people, it doesn't go beyond that. With this guy, oh boy, oh my. Okay, interesting, interesting, interesting. Now let's get over here to Wendy. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about Wendy. I did discuss this with Dr. Luke and I think Gershom. And yeah, Gershom. And in the Slack discussion board that they've got going on. Wendy is interesting. Okay. Jack, I can like connect him to pretty easily too. I can connect him to all kinds of mythology and all kinds of mythological figures, and I will. Even in this video, I will. Wendy is not so easy. We already talked about a couple of things that I'll just recap here, and leave you all of these links in the description of this video so you too can go on a journey of madness, a descent into madness, and like down this rabbit hole that I've dug for myself. My God. Winifred, in quotation marks, Wendy Torrance, is a fictional character and protagonist. Oh, people have just made their minds up about this movie. And protagonist of the 1977 horror novel The Shining by American writer, I won't even say his name. She also appeared in the prologue of that awful movie that I'm not going to mention, a 2013 sequel to The Shining. I when I make a decision, I stick with it. Okay. She's portrayed by Shelley Duvall in the. She looks amazing in the 1980 film adaptation of the novel directed by Stanley Kubrick. And that's all I care about. Moving on. And this is a short page, not a lot of information about Wendy. Unlike Jack Torrance, a little of Wendy's background is revealed in the novel. A bad relationship with her emotionally abusive mother is mentioned. In the film version, the character is much less nuanced than in the book and in the miniseries written by you-know-who himself, where she appears as a central character, leading to some critics to refer to the character as two different versions of Wendy Torrance. I wonder why. Stanley knew what he was doing. I don't know about this fool. This fool has often stated that Wendy's submissiveness is one of the main reasons for his aversion to Kubrick's film. Writer Chelsea Quinn Yarbrough also criticized Wendy's weakness as portrayed in the novel, attributing it to you-know-who's general inability to paint convincing female characters. Oh, thank you, Chelsea. I'm not at all surprised. I'm not going to read any of his nonsense, but I'm not at all surprised. And he likes to claim that other people are misogynistic. Really? I mean. No. If that ain't a case of projection, I don't know what is. Other critics have spoken of the novel's Wendy as a modern Gothic heroine, although not stereotyped. Listen, I don't know what she's like in the novel. Okay. But if he thinks that this went... First of all, you-know-who, the fool, has often stated that Wendy's submissiveness is one of the main reasons for his aversion to Kubrick's film. No, it ain't. That's a damn lie. Because a woman who's capable of braining her husband with a baseball bat and then cutting his hand with a knife and then leaving him to freeze to death in a maze, like, that's not submissive. Okay? That's not at all submissive. So I don't know what this fool is really talking about. Again, is this just a textbook case of projection? I just don't know. I mean... And again, he's usually talking about this kind of shit to other men. So, I'm not a feminist. I told you that already. If you go through my videos and watch every single last one, I've mentioned that before. However, I am sick and tired of people who claim to be feminists speaking for all the women on planet Earth. I don't like that shit. I do not. Wendy's, it's not about weakness or strength. It's about, like, what the fuck is wrong with this woman? That's what it's about for me, personally. But anyway, I'm here to talk about her name, which we only get her first and last name. Winifred, her government name, Torrance, and then she's known as Wendy, which makes no friggin' sense at all. Because, and I don't have time to go into it in this video, because look at all these tabs. But if you look up with the name Winifred, which I did, maybe I should have lined that up too. But I didn't think to. You're just going to have to take my word for it. Look it up if you want to. You don't got to believe me. I don't expect you to. But Wendy is not one of the shortenings of or pet names for Winifred. It's just not. Okay? And I was talking about this with Dr. Luke and Gershom. When Dick Halloran, when he says, "Oh, Mrs. Torrance, your husband introduced you as Winifred. Are you a Winnie or a Freddie?" And she says, "I'm a Wendy." Okay. Like, Halloran got it right. I mean, Halloran, he's not stupid. He's like, yeah, Winifred, there's only two ways to make that shorter, Winnie or Freddie. And she says, "I'm a Wendy." What the hell? Wendy is not short for anything, I think. Ooh, I see this one, another one of my searches that I did. I do a lot of them, and I forgot, like, even exactly everything that I read. But I'm pretty sure. Y'all go ahead and check up on it if it intrigues you. But I don't think that Wendy is a short version of any name. Possibly Gwendolyn. And that's about it. Gwendolyn, Gwyneth, stuff like that. But not Winifred. Not Winifred. Not a chance. Okay, but she's identified as Winifred and Wendy. Okay, those are two different names, completely different names. And of course, the first thing I thought of was Winnie the Pooh, because I talked about it in my, where is it over here? In my, a couple of these videos, I think. But like the one where I talk about in the lobby when Jack is bouncing the ball or whatever, and you see the Winnie the Pooh stuffed animal doll, and I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. And we see Winnie the Pooh a couple of times. We see him in the apartment too, not just in the lobby. And if her real name is Winifred, and we just got a Winnie the Pooh doll hanging out in various parts of the hotel, and especially right next to the column where Jack jumps out from behind it. He's hiding, and he jumps out from behind it to kill Halloran with the axe. Like, oh, come on, really? Seriously? And then we got all these bears in the movie. Oh, come on now. Come on now. And I was never really exposed to Winnie the Pooh, or like the Winnie the Pooh universe. Okay. So I had to look this up because I was more into Bugs Bunny and Tom and Jerry as a child. I wasn't really into Winnie the Pooh. But I'll just read this quickly. In the Milne books, Pooh is naive and slow-witted. Does that remind you of anybody? But also is friendly. Okay, that also reminds me of Wendy. Friendly, thoughtful, and steadfast. Okay, and Wendy has like this folksy thing that she's got going on, and the adjectives they're using, naive, slow-witted, friendly, thoughtful, and steadfast. Like, that sounds like her. Yeah, and she's very reminiscent of, like, maybe even a character from a show like the Andy Griffith Show, like one of the people who live in Mayberry, whatever. Although he and his friends agree that he is a bear of very little brain, Pooh is occasionally acknowledged to have clever ideas, usually driven by common sense. These include whatever. I'm not going to read all that. Pooh is also a talented poet, and the stories are frequently punctuated by his poems and hums. Although he is humble about his slow-wittedness, he is comfortable with his creative gifts. That also reminds me of Wendy, and she has quite an imagination, doesn't she? And potentially in even bigger imagination than most people would ever guess. If I'm right, and other people as well have had this idea way before me regarding like the true nature of the Wendy character. Okay. Pooh is very fond of food, particularly honey, which he spells Hunny, but also condensed milk. I never thought of condensed milk as a food, but I've read things like in England back in the day, people would actually just drink cans of condensed milk. Okay, I didn't say, yeah, condensed milk. And like when if I have people listening to me who are not bakers, who are not really like fond of kitchen activities, condensed milk is like milk that's been boiled down with sugar. So it's pretty thick. It's kind of got the consistency of like almost like a runny custard, like a runny like pudding. When you open the can, it comes in cans, and it's always come in cans. And it's sweet. It's milk that's been cooked down with sugar, so it's sweet. So it's used as an ingredient for a lot of desserts, a lot of recipes, especially something like pumpkin pie. So you get your pumpkin and you mix it with condensed milk and I think even more sugar, and like pumpkin pie spices and eggs and whatever. And then you pour it into a pie crust, and happy Thanksgiving. But I'm kind of dwelling on this because like, ew. But there was a time in history where people did not have the options that we have as far as food is concerned, especially people who worked very hard for a living. So somebody in England at that time in history, when is this? Maybe it's meant to. It seems to be meant to evoke that time period in history, like very industrial England with people who work very hard and don't have a lot of money, so they would just eat like these horrible foods, like drinking a can of condensed milk, and maybe like they use that to wash down a loaf of bread, or something like that. Really, really, really basic, and really like poor people food, basically. And this is what Winnie is into. Winnie the Pooh. Honey, condensed milk. He likes sweet things, obviously. And he seems to be a bit of a glutton. But we don't really even see Wendy eat in this movie. We see her take one bite of that peanut butter jelly sandwich, and that's it. Okay, so I don't know what's going on with this. So anyway, the gist of this is that Winnie the Pooh is not very bright. Naive. And that's definitely like that folksy quality we get from the Wendy character. Alright, plus she's named Winifred. And it's not just about Winnie the Pooh, it's also about Winnie the Pooh's connection to like all the other bears we see in this movie. Like I said, the ladles behind her in the kitchen when she's opening that big ass can of fruit cocktail. Another sweet food, right? And canned. My goodness. Excuse me. Ursa. If they're both ladles behind her head, then it's the Big and the Little Dipper. But in either case, the Big and the Little Dipper are named Ursa. Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. Ursa is a feminine name. Okay, so do both of those connect back to Wendy, or is like the Little Dipper Danny? I don't know. Because the Little Dipper is also named Ursa. So how can Danny be connected to something that has a feminine name? I see. This is the kind of shit that keeps me up at night. But okay, so the bears. That's what I was talking about. The bears. The bears, the bears, the bears. So this is like, maybe a revelation of Stanley's, or one aspect of Stanley's code visual code that he's using in the movie. Whenever you see a bear, is Wendy. Period. Okay? And he's using wherever you see a bear in this movie to tell you more, not about Jack, not about Danny, but about Wendy. Okay? So there's that. That's about all I can do with that now. If I have more ideas some other time, I'll make another video. And then I want to bring y'all over here. So Wendy. Okay, and we even have a line, that's a famous line, and I think a lot of people have obsessed over it, kind of like I have. When the big showdown between Wendy and Jack in the Colorado Lounge, where he's pursuing her and she's backing away with him, holding the knife and crying and blubbering and whatever. And he says, "Wendy, darling, light of my life." Okay, so, come on now. Here we are, Wendy Darling. Wendy, Moira, Angela Darling. Again, this is like a snooty-ass name. Just like, Jack Daniel Edward Torrance. Okay? And I pronounce Torrance either one of two ways. Either the way Dick Halloran pronounces it, Torrance, or the way my French professor pronounced it, Torrance. Okay, so I've decided. Okay, so she's a fictional character and one of the main protagonists of the 1904 play and 1911 novel Peter and Wendy by J.M. Barrie, as well as in most adaptations in other media. Okay? Her exact age is not specified in the original play or novel by Barrie, though it is implied that she is about 12 to 13 years old, or possibly younger, as she is just Peter's size. As a girl on the verge of adulthood, she stands in contrast to Peter Pan, a boy who refuses to grow up, the major theme of the Peter Pan stories. Wendy hesitates at first to fly off to Neverland, but she comes to enjoy her adventures. Ultimately, she chooses to go back to her parents and accepts that she has to grow up. Like, there's something chilling about this story. And I'm aware of the Peter Pan story. Not in depth. I never saw the Disney movie. I'm sorry. My family, my upbringing, we were not big on Disney movies. I was never big on Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck or Goofy or any of the other whatever characters in the Disney universe. Like I said, for me it was all about Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry. I loved them. Loved them so freaking much. Is there anything else? And I kind of like the Jetsons too. But that, never mind that. In the novel, she's an Edwardian schoolgirl. This is going to become important later. King Edward. And not this one. Not King Edward the Eighth. No. We're going to talk about the other one. There's 8 of them. Encore. 8 of them. So that means there was a King Edward the First, too. But we'll talk about that later in this movie. If you stick around until the end, you might get a cute little surprise, depending on how much of a nerd you are. Anyway, the novel states that she attends a kindergarten school with her younger brothers, meaning a school for pre-adolescent children. Like Peter, in many adaptations of the story, she is shown to be on the brink of adolescence. She belongs to a middle-class London household of that era, and is the daughter of George Darling, a short-tempered and pompous bank/office worker, and his wife Mary. Wendy shares a nursery room with her 2 brothers, Michael and John. However, in the Disney version, her father decides that it's high time she had a room of her own out of the nursery for stuffing the boys' heads with a lot of silly stories, but changes his mind at the end of the film when he returns home with his wife after the party. Okay. Where should we do the name Wendy? The first name, this is interesting. The first name Wendy was very uncommon in the English-speaking world before J.M. Barrie's work, and its subsequent popularity has led some to credit him with inventing it. Well. although the name Wendy was used to a limited extent as the familiar form of the Welsh name Gwendolen, it is thought that Barry took the name from a phrase used by Margaret Henley, a 5-year-old girl whom Barry befriended in the 1890s, daughter of his friend William Henley. She called Barry her Friendy Wendy, which she pronounced Fwendy Wendy. She died at the age of 5 and was buried along with her family in Cockayne, Hatley. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Okay. That is very interesting, especially in regard to the Wendy character in The Shining. Where does the name come from? Well, here. Okay. So Wendy has to make a choice whether or not to stay in Never Never Land. Okay. So when we think of this character, we think of her as this girl who, for whatever reason, goes to this place where Peter Pan is, and she, and it says here, she's granted, her ambition early in the story is to somehow avoid growing up. Why that is, I don't know. Is it much more darker than it sounds? I don't know. She has a distaste for adulthood, acquired partly by the example set by her father, whom she loves but fears due to his somewhat violent fits of anger. Oh boy, a lot of stuff going on here. A lot of stuff going on. I mean, that's how she describes Jack. That's how Wendy describes Jack to the doctor woman, the violent fits of anger, breaking or dislocating Danny's shoulder or arm or whatever, I don't know. Wow. And she is granted this opportunity by Peter Pan, who takes her and her brothers to Neverland where they can remain young forever. Wendy finds that this experience brings out her more adult side. Peter and the tribe of lost boys who dwell in Neverland want her to be their mother, a role they remember only vaguely. A request she tentatively accedes to, performing various domestic tasks for them. There is also a degree of innocent flirtation with Peter, which incites jealousy in Peter's fairy tale. Which incites jealousy in Peter's fairy Tinkerbell. In Barry's book, Peter and Wendy asks Peter at the end if he would like to speak to her parents about a very sweet subject, implying that she would like him to speak to her parents about someday marrying her. Wendy eventually learns that adulthood has its rewards and returns to London, deciding not to postpone maturity any longer. So, I don't know what's going on in this story. I don't know what's going on in this story. And the Lost Boys. Like, who are the Lost? I mean, if Wendy's relation in this story or whatever, is mainly like, she goes to Never Neverland, or Neverland, not Never Neverland, but Neverland, and she hangs out with these Lost Boys and Peter Pan. Like, are they like dead? Are they children who didn't make it into adulthood because they died for whatever reason? And there was plenty of reason for children to die in that part of history, Edwardian, and then prior to Edwardian Victorian England. It was just a dangerous time with all kinds of like hazards and chemicals and child labor and whatever. Is that who the Lost Boys are? And they, oh wow. This is like terrifying. To me, it's terrifying. And also, Barry's short, so the same author who created her, Barry's short play When Wendy Grew Up, An Afterthought, was first staged in 1908, and the storyline included in the novel, published in 1911. It was published in 1957 and sometimes incorporated into productions of the play. In this Afterthought, Wendy has grown up and married, although it's not known whom she married, and she has a daughter, Jane. When Peter returns looking for Wendy, He does not understand at first that Wendy is no longer a young girl, and he has no notion of time when in Neverland. He meets Jane and invites her to fly off with him to Neverland. Wendy lets her daughter go, trusting her to make the same choices as her. Oof. Wow. The narrator states that Jane has a daughter, Margaret, who will one day also go to Neverland with Peter Pan, and in this way it will go on forever and ever, so long as children are young and innocent. Like, is Peter Pan some kind of corrupting force? Like, is he, something worldly that children, especially female children, or young females, like, in their teenage years, or it sounds like it if she's like, 12 to 13 years old, preteen, need to be exposed to before they, like, become women? Or, like, what the hell is going on? That's what I'm getting from this character and this story. But Wendy, who's the tragic character here? Is it Wendy or Peter Pan? And the Lost Boys? I don't know what to think. But Wendy, darling, light of my life. So is Jack Peter Pan? Is Danny Peter Pan? Or, she goes into the maze with him, like the only person Danny, like, plays with is his mother. So is Danny Peter Pan, or is Jack Peter Pan? And she thinks of Jack as kind of like an overgrown... It seems to me that Wendy thinks of Jack as this, like, kind of overgrown child, overgrown little boy. And I've mentioned in these other videos that Jack kind of behaves that way when he's bouncing that damn ball. First off the wall in the Colorado Lounge and then in the lobby. Like, that's childish behavior. So maybe Danny isn't a Peter Pan in relation to this Wendy. It's, not Winnie. No, Wendy. It's Jack. Jack is the Peter Pan character in The Shining. Related in relation to the Wendy Darling character. Stanley's doing a lot. Stanley is making us work. He's making us use our damn brains. Okay? Like, we gotta figure this out. I mean, obviously it's a dual character. There's Wendy and there's Winnie. Alright? So Wendy Darling, Winnie the Pooh. Okay. I mean, and what we don't kind of think of with regard to the Wendy, Winnie, Winnie the Pooh, Winifred, Winnie the Pooh connection, and the bears, Ursa, everything is, the bears. We think, when we think of these bears, Winnie the Pooh, we think of Winnie the Pooh as adorable. He's adorable and cuddly, and you want to take him home and just, like, hug him and the cartoon character or whatever, and hand him a plate of cookies or a pot of honey, like whatever he prefers, and just, delight in his cuteness. No. Bears are terrifying. Like the real ones in the wilderness. Like, no. So, like, we always forget that when we look at these teddy bears, that actual real bears will eat you. Okay? So if Wendy's a bear, oh my god. And, like, then this Wendy Darling thing. Oh my. So if I'm like postulating that Jack is the Peter Pan to Wendy Darling. I don't know. Y'all let me know. So here we go. That the next leg of this journey is Danny. Okay. And somebody said it in the comments. I wish I could remember who, but I've made, like, wait a minute. I have made 14 Understanding the Shining videos, plus all these other rum breaks and coffee breaks and all this other film analysis shit I'm doing. Like, I forget who said it, but somebody said it, and they were, in my opinion, I didn't know this, but, thank you for letting me know, whoever you are. Danny Torrance, his full name. He doesn't have a snooty-ass name like his daddy, John Daniel Edward Torrance. Oh my god, every single time I'm going to say that, if I remember. But no, he has Daniel Anthony Torrance. That's his full name. Also known as Doc. Also known as Doc, Danny, and later, forget this shit, not even going to say it out loud, is a fictional character who first appears in the 1977. Y'all, 1977 is when the novel that you know who wrote by the same title as the movie The Shining was published. 1977, and the movie started production the very next year. I am so sorry. I don't think that Stanley, no, not Stanley, but, the author of the novel, won't even say his damn name. Like, he probably owes his career to Stanley Kubrick. And he has the nerve. The nerve. In 77, he was like a young, upstart kind of author, writer, whatever. And he has the nerve to, like, all these years later, still be bitching about the movie version of The Shining by Stanley Kubrick. Okay, never mind. He's a child with psychic powers called The Shining. His parents are Father Jack Torrance and Mother Wendy Torrance. The character was portrayed in the 1980 film adaptation, The Shining by Danny Lloyd, and I don't care who else portrayed him in the other ones. Okay. All right. Okay, Danny. I'm not going to read all this, but he has allegedly psychic powers that fellow psychic Dick Halloran calls shining. He can read people's thoughts, communicate. Again, are they basing this on the book or the movie? If they're mashing all of this together, like, I don't like it. I don't like it. Okay. I think this first part, like The Shining, is I'm just wondering if this is just talking about the movie or just talking about the book, because they're very different, and mashing them together like this in a Wikipedia article is not fair to either. Like, really, like, if we're going to be serious about this and do right by this. No. So anyway, I will read this whole first paragraph just to kind of get you going on where I'm taking this. Danny Torrance is introduced in The Shining as the 5-year-old son. Now we know his age. The 5-year-old son of Jack and Wendy Torrance. He has psychic powers that fellow psychic Dick Halloran calls shining. He can read people's thoughts, communicate telepathically with others who shine, and has frequent, frightening, prophetic visions. He receives these messages and visions from a supernatural entity he calls Tony, that only he can see. His parents believe that Tony is merely his imaginary friend. Well, it's also his middle name, damn it. Anthony. Which, Tony is short for Anthony. I didn't miss that because I didn't know it, but whoever in the comments told me about that, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. And while I'm on that subject, like, if your comments are not showing up under the video, I promise you and I swear to you, that is not my doing. I think Trusty Films, was telling me about that in one of the comments, and I said, I don't know what's going on. I appreciate all of your comments, and I haven't seen the comments. I don't know what's going on. So I wish I knew. I thought I had the comments finally figured out, but apparently I don't. So if you're seeing things, if you leave a comment and it doesn't show up, that's not my doing. That's not my doing. Like, I've been letting more or less all the comments through. Okay? The ones that I don't let through, like, I have my reasons, okay? You don't need to know about that. But yeah, I've been letting more or less Trusty Films, definitely. Trusty Films has good comments. And I appreciate all of them, and I appreciate all the commenters. So if it's not there, it's not because of me. Anyway, Tony, the imaginary friend, his middle name too, and we're going to get into that. Danny has a difficult relationship with Jack, an alcoholic, prone to drunken rage. Okay. Jack quits drinking. Cool. Whatever. This is Wendy's story. Dick Halloran meets Dick Halloran, also shines. Okay. Okay, yeah, this mentions the mallet. So, yeah, this is the novel version of it. But, whatever. Okay, and they show, oh, look at the picture they put here. They put him in the Apollo 11 sweater. Like, seriously. Seriously. And I gotta look, and let me, you know what, while we're here, let me take a better look at this thing. Okay, Apollo 11 rocket ship with, like, I don't know what these things are at the bottom, afterburners. And then 3 stars on the front of the sweater. So do those 3 stars, do they represent the 3 members of the family? I don't know. Could be. Maybe. I don't know. We need to look into it. But, Danny, everybody thinks Danny has psychic powers that we call the shining. He can read people's minds, communicate telepathically with others who shine, and has frequent, frightening, prophetic visions that he gets from his imaginary friend, Tony. Okay. Well, here we are. Okay. Book of Daniel. The Book of Daniel is, and this is the first thing I thought of. Okay. See, we keep going back to the Bible and religion in this movie. Like I told you, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Right? The Book of Daniel is a 2nd century BC biblical apocalypse with a 6th century BC setting. Ostensibly an account of the activities and visions of Daniel, a noble Jew exiled at Babylon, it combines a prophecy of history with an eschatology, a portrayal of end times, both cosmic in scope and political in focus. And its message is that just as the God of Israel saves Daniel from his enemies, so he would save all Israel in their present oppression. Okay. Now, do I have time to read through all this? No, I don't. No, I don't. No, 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 no. No. But I'm going to have to look into more of this later at some other time because this is interesting. Okay, and yes, this has connections, or it seems to have connections. It's very, or rather maybe the other way around. Maybe the Book of Daniel came before the Book of Revelation. So the Book of Revelation has serious similarities to the Book of Daniel. That's all you need to know for now. And now, so Daniel, he's the main figure in the Book of Daniel, right? The Hebrew Bible includes Daniel in the Ketuvim writings, okay, while Christian biblical canons group the work with the major prophets. It divides into 2 parts, a set of 6 court tales in chapters 1 through 6, written mostly in Aramaic, and 4 apocalyptic visions in chapters 7 through 12, written mostly in Hebrew. The Deuterocanonical books contain 3 additional sections, the Prayer of Azariah and Song of the 3 Holy Children, Susanna. I'm going to talk about her some other time. You remember Susie, the secretary? Lord. And Bel and the Dragon. Okay. The book's influence has resonated through later ages from the community of the Dead Sea Scrolls and the authors of the canonical Gospels and the Book of Revelation to various movements from the 2nd century to the Protestant Reformation and modern millennialist movements, on which it continues to have a profound influence. All right, you guys. All right, I mentioned Susanna. I mentioned the 4 apocalyptic visions in chapters 7 through 12. Well, our Daniel in this movie, he has some visions too, now don't he? Okay. He can read people's thoughts, communicate telepathically with others who shine, and has frequent frightening prophetic visions. Well, what are the odds, eh? What are the odds? Okay, and again, I'll get into this at some other time. I just wanted to connect Danny to Daniel. Okay, Daniel, the biblical figure. What does the name mean? It means God is my judge. All right, and is the main character of the book of Daniel. According to the Hebrew Bible, Daniel was a noble Jewish youth of Jerusalem, taken into captivity by Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylon. I'm telling you, Stanley is connecting all of these different ancient historical periods in this one movie. Greece, Rome, yes, Egypt, Mesopotamia, the Holy Land, all of it. Again, Northern Europe too, and the Norse myths and gods and writing system and the whole thing. It's all there. Okay, but anyway, taken into captivity by Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, serving the king and his successors with loyalty and ability until the time of the Persian conqueror Cyrus, all while remaining true to the God of Israel. While conservative scholars hold that Daniel existed and his book was written in the 6th century BCE, most other scholars agree that Daniel is not a historical figure and that the book is a cryptic allusion to the reign of the 2nd century BCE Hellenistic king Antiochus IV Epiphanes. Okay. 6 cities claim the tomb of Daniel, the most famous being that in Susa in southern Iran, at a site known as the Shush-i-Daniyal. He is not a prophet in Judaism, but the rabbis reckoned him to be the most distinguished member of the Babylonian diaspora, unsurpassed in piety and good deeds, firm in his adherence to the law despite being surrounded by enemies who sought his ruin. And in the first few centuries CE, they wrote down, CE, for anybody who doesn't know, means Common Era. They wrote down the many legends that had grown up around his name. He is considered a prophet in Christianity, and although he is not mentioned in the Quran, Muslim sources describe him as a prophet. Okay, so this is who we're dealing with here. So, okay, Danny is named Daniel, and I believe it connects to the biblical Daniel, okay, Old Testament Daniel, and it also connects his father to that same biblical Daniel, because one of Jack's middle names is Daniel. Oh, and wait, where was I? Hold on. Oh, look at all these damn tabs. So, what does the name Daniel mean? God is my judge. Whew. This is connecting us to, again, religious and mythological things, supernatural things in stories, in old stories, ancient stories. And which is exactly where Stanley is taking us. Now, let's move on to Tony, shall we? Remember Daniel Anthony, a.k.a. Tony Torrance. Here we are. I looked up, when I started going down the Tony rabbit hole, I said, let me look up Antonio. Okay, Antonio is a masculine given name of Etruscan origin deriving from the root name Antonius. It is a common name among Romance language-speaking populations as well as the Balkans and Lusophone Africa. It has been among... Okay, I don't care about none of that. It's been around for a while. Did you see this? Etruscan. All right, so it derives from Antonius. This is where we are. A well-known Latin family name, probably of Etruscan origin. The Roman general Marcus Antonius, also known as Mark Antony, held that the origin of the name was Anton, son of Hercules. Okay? This myth, recorded by Plutarch, was probably created by Mark Antonius himself in order to claim divine parentage. The name was in use throughout the Roman world, which, at its height, comprised the whole of the Mediterranean and much of Europe, as well as the Middle East. The Roman Empire was huge. When the Roman Empire became Christian, the name continued in popularity because of the many great saints who bore the name. Later, the name was spread all around the world as Christianity was introduced to other locations. In other words, the Far East, the Americas, Australia, and Sub-Saharan Africa. Okay. Did you all read that? Or listen to me, hear me read all of that? So, Etruscan in origin, the most famous, Anthony is Mark Antony, at least in that, ancient history. And again, name was, and they invented somebody. Okay, I'll get into it more. And recorded by Plutarch, which everybody thinks of Plutarch as like this awesome source. Like, obviously he was a liar. Okay, The myth recorded by Plutarch was probably created by Marcus Antonius himself in order to claim divine parentage, in order to be like somebody in that world at the time, like really like a serious somebody. You had to be able to claim that you were descended literally from the gods. Okay, so I'll just leave it at that for this one. I looked at Antonio. Okay, and I also looked at Antonius, masculine name as well as surname, and it's like everywhere. All right. It is also the source of the English personal name Anthony, which is why I'm here, as well as a number of similar names in various European languages. Antonius is the nomen of the gens Antonia, an important plebeian family of ancient Rome. Marcus Antonius claimed that the gens was descended from Anton, a son of Hercules. Women of the family were called Antonia. The Antonii produced a number of important generals and politicians, some of whom are listed below. For other persons with this name, see Antonia gens. We're not going to do that because I have other tabs open, but you get the gist of it, okay? They invented a son of Hercules that did not exist probably in the original mythology in order to give Mark Antony like this claim to a divine lineage. Okay, this is the Antonia gens, or gens, or I don't know how to pronounce it perfectly. The gens Antonia was a Roman family name of great antiquity, with both patrician and plebeian branches. The first of the gens to achieve prominence was Titus Antonius Merenda, one of the second group of Decemviri, called in 450 BC to help draft what became the Law of 12 Tables. And I took a little look at this. This is also fascinating. Okay. The foundation of Roman law. Wow. The most prominent member of the gens was Marcus Antonius. Okay. Origin. Marcus Antonius, a triumvir, claimed that his gens was descended from Anton, a son of Hercules. According to ancient traditions, the Antonii were Heraclidae, and because of that, Marcus Antonius harnessed lions to his chariot to commemorate his descent from Heracles, and many of his coins bore a lion for the same reason. We're about to see one of those coins too. Praenomina. The patrician Antony used the praenomina, and we'll get into this later, Titus and Quintus. Titus does not appear to have been used by the plebeian Antony, who instead used Quintus, Marcus, Lucius, and Gaius. There is also a few instances of Aulus, while Marcus Antonius, the triumvir, named one of his sons Iulius. Iulus, not Julius. Iulus. Iulus. Oh, Lord. This name, also borne by a later descendant of the triumvir, may have been an ancient praenomen revived by the family, but it was probably also intended to call to mind the connections of his family with the illustrious gens Julia. Okay. Ugh, Lord. The patrician and the branches and cognomina. The patrician Antony bear the cognomen Merenda. The plebeian Antony bear no surname under the Republic, with the exception of Quintus Antonius, propraetor of Sardinia in the time of Sulla, who is called Balbus on coin. Okay, never mind that. But these are all the members of the Antony, or is it Antony? Yeah. Yeah, the gens Antonia. Okay. So we now that we got that out the way, this whole like family or clan or whatever you want to call it, Mark Antony, based it all, or like, he did revisionist history, not just revisionist history, but revisionist, I guess, theology, in order to make it look like his family were related to Hercules. or Heracles, whichever one. It doesn't matter, really. Um, Jesus H. Christ. Jesus Eugene Christ. This is like crazy to me. Here's the page for Anthony. A masculine given name derived from the Antony, a gens Roman family name, to which Mark Antony Marcus Antonius belonged. According to Plutarch, the Antony gens were Heraclidae, being descendants of Anton, son of Herc. So this is repeated over and over again. Anthony is an English name that is in use in many countries. It has been among the top 100 most popular male baby names in the United States since the late 19th century, and has been among the top 100 male baby names between 1998 and 2018 in many countries, including Canada, Australia, England, Ireland, and Scotland. Okay. So, spelling and pronunciation, what does it mean? The name was historically spelled Antony, as used in William Shakespeare's play Antony and Cleopatra. Oh, interesting. In the 17th century, the letter H was inserted into the spelling on the belief that the name derived from the Greek word anthos, meaning flower. In Britain, the historical pronunciation predominates for both spellings, while in the United States, the spelling pronunciation is more common when the Anthony is being used. Okay, all right. Here we go. Here we are. So now we know a little bit more about that. This all goes back to Mark Antony and Hercules. Okay, here's one of those coins I told you about. Found this, British Museum, object coin. Denomination aureus. Okay. Description, gold coin, whole. It's all in one piece and it's got two sides. All right. Head of M. Antonius, right, on the right side. This is the front of the coin. Head of Marcus Antonius, right, bearded around inscription. And then border of dots. And then on the obverse, on this other side, Hercules seated facing on rock, holding spear in right hand and sword in left hand, with lion's skin draped over lap. On right, shield decorated with gorgonion. On left, inscription. On right, inscription, border of dots. Okay. So, Mr. Antonius wanted very, very, very strongly for his name and his reputation and everything to be connected to Hercules. This is serious. Now, this production date 42 BC, Roman Republican. All right, minted in Rome, the city. Gold. Okay. Inscriptions. Okay, we don't have to really concentrate on those. Curator's comments. This is what got me here. Antony claimed that his family, the Antoni, were descended from Anton, a son of Heracles invented for the purpose. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is just out of this world. Out of this world. To me. Okay? Now, so basically, Tony is fake. There was never any... the Antony family, or gens, in ancient Rome, like, they were real, and they had many, members and descendants of that family. But what they based their connection to Heracles or Hercules on is a complete lie, and that lie includes somebody named Antony or Tony. Okay, so maybe the Tony in... Oh, Lord, where's the tab? Where there it is. So Daniel Anthony Torrance. So maybe Danny's Tony, his imaginary friend, quote unquote, he's a lie too, in some way, shape, or form. What the hell is going on with this Tony character? He's the only character that we don't really see in the movie. We do, because Danny's middle name is Anthony. So Danny and Anthony are the same, or Danny and Tony are the same person. And then, like, we have the cereal. Okay, Frosted Flakes. Tony the tiger. I know a tiger is not a lion, but... oh, dear, dear, dear. Okay, so here we are at this page, too, which is interesting. I found this as well. The Antoniad. Roman poetry. I forget, like, reading through this, but this is what I wanted to read to you from this page. Okay? No, that's not what it was. Oh, now I had to. Oh, okay, here we go. Plutarch, Life of Antony. All right, at the head of had the civil season, and Mark. Okay, and Mark Antony, rather than Augustus, had won. The world might yet possess a Latin epic not hugely different from the Aeneid. It would feature at least as much Hercules, at any rate, because Antony claimed descent from him. Here is Plutarch, Life of Antony, 4.1 through 2. Translate. Okay, whatever. Here's Plutarch talking about Mark Antony. He had also a noble dignity of form, and a shapely beard, a broad forehead, and an aquiline nose, were thought to show the virile qualities peculiar to the portraits and statues of Heracles. Moreover, there was an ancient tradition that the Antonii were Heraclidae, being descendants of Anton, a son of Heracles, and this tradition Antony thought that he confirmed both by the shape of his body, as has been said, and by his attire. For whenever he was going to be seen by many people, he always wore his tunic girt up to his thigh, a large sword hung at his side, and a heavy cloak enveloped him. Well, interesting. Interesting. So, like, when he was seen by people, he would dress the part of being a descendant of Heracles. Well, yeah, the tunic. Tunic, not the tunic, but the sword, also pictured. I just showed you. Heracles is pictured with a sword and a lion's skin and a spear. And a heavy cloak, which is probably meant to be evocative of the lion pelt. So these people in the ancient world worked hard to lie about lie on their resume, so to speak. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. But Tony is fake. Tony is made up. Tony is there to make Danny seem more important. Okay, Danny is, Danny. It's not Dan. It's Dan. Yeah, it's Daniel Anthony, and it's Mark Anthony. Marcus Antonius. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And this is a page about the Heraclidae, were the numerous descendants of Heracles or Hercules, specially applied in a narrower sense to the descendants of Helios. No, not Helios, Hylas, the eldest of 4 sons by, okay, now I don't need to go through all this and waste your time. But the reason I'm here is because I looked up Hercules. I looked up the Heraclidae. Why? Because in the beginning, I thought Heracles had a son named Anthony. Okay, let me find him. So I looked up these pages of Heracles and Hercules, looking for that figure, that god, to have a son named Anthony. Couldn't find it. And that's when I got suspicious. So I found this, and this, and this, before I found this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And I said, oh Lord, they were lying. But it's interesting. So I did read through all of this. Yeah, so this is supposed to be the descendants of Hercules, okay, and being descended from an ancient mythological figure, a god or a goddess, was extremely important in society at this time in history. If you were going to be somebody in Greece or in Rome, apparently, you had to be related to literally God or a god at the time. There were many of them. If you walked around now telling people that you were related to God, even though technically that's true, because God created us all, if you're, if you're a religious person and you believe that, but like if you went around saying it, and you mean it like, you mean it literally, and like God, I'm related to God. I am, somewhere on the family tree. Or if you said something like, I talk to God regularly, which people have said in my presence, and let me tell you, it's not a good feeling. But if you walked around saying things like that, people would like call somebody to come get you. But these people at this time in history, they could do that with impunity. These ruling classes and whatnot in ancient Rome. You and me? Oh, hell no. No, 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 no. And this is maybe another thing that Stanley is talking about. Let me go to the page on Heracles. Stanley is talking about this in this movie, and he's basically calling the ruling classes on their bullshit, is what I think he's doing with the imaginary friend. It's hard to find it. Not Wendy, come on. Yeah, Danny. With Daniel Anthony Torrance and his imaginary friend Tony. And is his imaginary friend, is Danny's imaginary friend Tony really Danny's invention? Okay, I think you know what I mean. Did Danny invent Tony, or did Wendy invent Tony and designate this Tony character as Danny's imaginary friend? I'm wondering now. I am having serious doubts about, like, Danny coming up with Tony as an imaginary friend. Maybe it's Wendy that suggested that to Danny. I don't know. Maybe, Tony's a lost boy. I don't know. But anyway, I got Heracles here. So these people in the ancient world, the ones who ruled everybody's life and made decisions that affected everybody, they lied about their own lineage for, like, PR purposes. Wow. That just blows my mind. When I found that out, I didn't know that. I did not know that. But here we are, learning, eh? Okay, so, Heracles. I won't say a lot about him, but this sidebar just in its own right is quite informative. Where does Heracles reside? Mount Olympus. What are his symbols? The club and the lion skin. Okay. Alright. What else we got going on? Who are his parents? Zeus and Alcmene. Alright. Alright, he has several consorts. Siblings. Children, none of which are named Anthony. Now, is he a hero or a god? I'm not going to get into that now. I can get into that in another video about ancient Greek and Greco-Roman, I guess we should call it, mythology, and all of the figures, all of the divine figures and supernatural figures in that particular branch of mythology. Now is not the time. But Dr. Luke, if you're listening, Hercules. Okay, Hercules is the Roman equivalent of the Greek divine hero Heracles, son of Jupiter, and the mortal Alcmena. So a lot of these, that's how they claim lineage. So when these gods, especially the male ones, found a mortal woman attractive, they would just help themselves, Or in the case of Zeus, he would change into various animals to fool the women into maybe not consenting to that kind of activity, But, before they knew what was happening, he would change back into a male human form. Oh my. Basically, fooling the mothers of these people into sexual congress. Now, Hercules is famous for his strength and for his numerous far-ranging adventures. So here we are. Now, in the Roman version, his abode is Rome. His symbol is the club, the Nemean lion, bow, and arrows. His parents, Jupiter and Alcmene, consort. He only has one here. In the Greek version, he has like 4 of them. Really interesting. I think Romans were a lot more conservative regarding that kind of stuff than the Greeks, so maybe that accounts for the difference. Here he has like consort, like wife. In the Roman version he has 1, in the Greek version he has 4, and probably a whole bunch of side chicks and whatever, I don't know. But I'm going to get into this in another, and I'm just talking about this in the context of the Antonia, or the, what are they called, damn it, not the Antonia gens or the Antonii, right? Interesting. Oh, that's next. So I'm done with Hercules. Battles. Oh, this is cute. Hercules battles. I keep calling him Hercules. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to stop, even though I'm sorry. Hercules battles Achilles, metamorphed into a serpent. Oh, Lord. This is going to get more and more interesting as we go along. But I'm going to do like the mythology portion of this in some other video at some other time. Let me just wrap this up as quickly as I possibly can. Let me see. Yeah, Yeah, we're home stretch. I'm about to introduce the finale. Let me take a little break. I need a cup of coffee. And I'll be right back. Again, the post-nasal drip is raging. So, hold up, y'all. Hold up. Okay, I'm back. Had my coffee. Okay, now, I hope that helped my post-nasal drip and all this. I don't know what to do. I got a new nasal spray. I tried it. It's not bad. Might try it again. And I'm worried because when I do these videos and my voice and everything, like the sounds that sometimes I hear when I listen back to this stuff, and the sounds coming from my throat are horrifying. It's like the demon in The Exorcist. But here we go. Home stretch, you guys. So we made it all the way to Hercules. And now cognomen. This is a term that I saw when I was going through some of these pages about Hercules and the Heraclidae. And where the hell is it? I know it's in here. Was it here? Or was it here? Oh, no, here. Wait a minute. Antony. Where is he? Oh, yeah. No, not here either. I know I saw it in one of these damn pages. Where is it now? These things, they just be messing with me. I know I saw the... hold on. Branches. Oh, yeah, there. Branches and cognomena. Okay, the patrician Antony, right? We're still talking about Mark Antony and the Antonia gens. The patrician Antony bear the cognomen Merenda. The plebeian Antony bear no surname under the Republic, with the exception of Quintus Antonius Okay, whatever. Cognomen. I said, what is this? When I was looking through this, I said, what in the world is this? So, of course, I clicked on the word cognomen. And what is a cognomen? Okay. It means a cognomen, plural cognomena, from co, together with, and nomen, name. So, was the third name of a citizen of ancient Rome under Roman naming conventions. Initially, it was a nickname, but lost that purpose when it became hereditary. Hereditary cognomena were used to augment the second name, the nomen, gentilicum, the family name or clan name, in order to identify a particular branch within a family or family within a clan. The term has also taken on other contemporary Meanings. Now, let me check out the contemporary meanings. The term cognomen, sometimes pluralized cognomens, has come into use as an English noun used outside the context of ancient Rome. According to the 2012 edition of the Random House Dictionary, cognomen can mean a surname or any name, especially a nickname. The basic sense in English is how one is well known. For example, Alfred the Great. This is more similar to the Roman use of agnomen than their use of cognomen. Catalan cognom and Italian cognome derived from the Latin cognomen, meaning family name. Maltese cugnom is derived from the Italian version, retaining the same meaning. The term cognomen can also be applied to cultures with a clan structure and naming conventions comparable to those of ancient Rome. Thus, hereditary cognomena have been described as in use among the Xhosa, Isiduko, the Yoruba, Oriki, and the Zulu, Isibongo. All right. This is confusing, but so I, of course, clicked on Roman naming conventions. Of course I did. And here we go. Okay, over the course of some 14 centuries, the Romans and other peoples of Italy employed a system of nomenclature that differed from that used by other cultures of Europe and the Mediterranean Sea, consisting of a combination of personal and family names. Although conventionally referred to as tria nomina, the combination of praenomen, nomen, and cognomen that have come to be regarded as the basic elements of the Roman name in fact represent a continuous process of development from at least the 7th century BC to the end of the 7th century AD. The names that developed as part of this system became a defining characteristic of Roman civilization, and although the system itself vanished during the early Middle Ages, the names themselves exerted a profound influence on the development of European naming practices, and many continue to survive in modern languages. Okay. So, I'm not going to talk about origin and development. No, this is just too much for me to go through right here. I'm going to look at this at another time, in my own time, for my own education. But what I wanted to sort of zero in on are the elements of the Roman naming conventions, the praenomen, nomen, and cognomen, which you can find here. There's the tria nomina, the three types of names that have come to be regarded as quintessentially Roman were the praenomen, nomen, and cognomen. Together, these were referred to as the tria nomina. Although not all Romans possessed three names, the practice of using multiple names having different functions was a defining characteristic of Roman culture that distinguished citizens from foreigners. Interesting. And now, why am I obsessed with this all of a sudden? Not just because I clicked on the thing, but if you remember, I started out with Jack Torrance. Okay. And I said John Daniel Edward Torrance. That's one long-ass name. You know, for somebody who isn't Spanish or Mexican. Right? And I think you know what I mean, like culturally, what I mean when I say that. Like, they have some long names in that system of naming, like Mexico and or Spain. John Daniel Edward, also known as Jack Torrance. Oh, and I looked at, not Wendy. No, not Winnie. Wendy. Wendy Moira Angela Dark. These are some long-ass names. And when you see long-ass names like this, especially in Northern Europe, that means that these people either are or think of themselves as from an upper or higher class. All right? I think that's safe to say. That's safe to assume. Right? So, the tria nomina that consists of the praenomen, nomen, and cognomen. Okay, so what is praenomen? Praenomen was a personal name chosen by the parents of a Roman child. It was first bestowed on the dies lustricus, the 8th day after the birth of a girl, or the 9th day after the birth of a boy. Okay. Oh. It's complicated, but basically, I think that's just your first name, or what everybody calls you, right? Normally, all the children of the family would have different praenomina, although there was no law restricting the use of specific praenomina. The choice of the parents was usually governed by custom and family tradition. An eldest son was usually named after his father, and younger sons were named after their father's brothers or other male ancestors. John Daniel Edward Torrance. Okay. All right. Of course, there were exceptions to these general practices. A son might be named in honor of one of his maternal relatives, thus bringing a new name into the Johns. Because some Johns made regular use of only 3 or 4 praenomina, new names might appear whenever a family had more than 3 or 4 sons. Okay. Furthermore, a number of the oldest and most influential patrician families made a habit of choosing unusual names. In particular, the Fabii, Meli, Furi, Claudi, Corneli, and Valeri all used praenomina that were uncommon amongst the patricians, or which had fallen out of general use in the... Okay. Oh, all right. So, there's that. And then there's nomen, or the nomen gentilicium, or Gentile name, designated a Roman citizen as a member of a gens. A gens, which may be translated as race, family, or clan, constituted an extended Roman family, all of whom shared the same nomen and claimed descent from a common ancestor. So I guess that would be the last name. Okay, particularly in the early republic, the gens functioned as a state within a state, observing its own sacred rites and establishing private laws, which were binding on its members, although not on the community as a whole. So we don't do this I think in English it's like your name is your first name and then your surname is your last name. In French, is nom et prénom. Okay, so I think when they say prénom, it means your first name in French, and nom means your last name. So that's how I'm kind of like making sense of this. The cognomen, the third element of the tria nomina, began as an additional personal name. It was not unique to Rome, but Rome was where the cognomen flourished. As the development of the gens and the gradual decline of the praenomen as a useful means of distinguishing between individuals made the cognomen a useful means of identifying both individuals and whole branches of Rome's leading families. In the early years of the Republic, some aristocratic Romans had as many as 3 cognomina, some of which were hereditary while others were personal. Interesting. So, like I said, these long-ass names usually mean that the person is either Mexican or Spanish, or they come from some kind of nobility. Okay? Like the nomen, cognomina could arise from any number of factors: personal characteristics, habits, occupations, places of origin, heroic exploits, and so forth. One class of cognomina consisted largely of archaic praenomina that were seldom used by the later republic, although as cognomina these names persisted throughout imperial times. Many cognomina had unusual terminations for Latin names ending in AO or IO, and their meanings were frequently obscure, even in antiquity. This seems to emphasize the manner in which many cognomina originally arose from nicknames. The ius termination typical of Latin nomina was generally not used for cognomina until the 4th century A.D., making it easier to distinguish between nomina and cognomina until the final centuries of the Western Empire. Unlike the nomen, which was passed down unchanged from father to son, cognomina could appear and disappear almost at will. They were not normally chosen by the persons who bore them, but were earned or bestowed by others, which may account for the wide variety of unflattering names that were used as cognomina. Doubtless some cognomina were used ironically, while others continued in use largely because, whatever their origin, they were useful for distinguishing among individuals and between branches of large families. New cognomina were coined and came into fashion throughout Roman history. I could just read this forever, but I won't. I won't. There's a couple more. There's one more category called the agnomen. Um, this gets more and more complicated as you go. The proliferation of cognomena in later centuries of the empire led some grammarians to classify certain types as agnomena. This class included two main types of cognomen: the cognomen ex virtute and cognomena that were derived from nomina to indicate the parentage of Romans who had been adopted from one gens into another. Although these names had existed throughout Roman history, it was only in this late period that they were distinguished from other cognomena. And then they explain cognomena ex virtute and adoptive cognomena. Okay, I'm not gonna do this anymore. Apart from praenomen, the filiation was the oldest element of the Roman name. Okay. Even before the development of the nomen as a hereditary surname, it was customary to use the name of a person's father as a means of distinguishing him or her from others with the same personal name, like a patronymic. Thus Lucius, the son of Marcus, would be Lucius Marci Filius. Paula, the daughter of Quintus, would be Paula Quinti Filia. Many nomina were derived. Okay, so you get the idea, right? So there's nomen, nomen, praenomen, and cognomen. Now, tribe, do I really want to get into this? Oh, dear God, I don't know. But this gives you an idea of why people have such such long names. And again, this goes back to Jack Torrance, or Torrance, John Daniel Edward Torrance. And I read all of this, or a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it, and I said, wait a minute, something's going on here. Something's going on here. Stanley is not playing games. I mean, I know that, the author of the novel is the one who originally named this character. However, I mean, I'm kind of wondering, as far as research and people who are really into this, the way I am, the way a lot of you who are listening are, does he expect us to read the novel by that fool? Maybe he does. Maybe just so we can compare and contrast. I don't know. I really don't know, and I don't know if I want to know. But Jack Daniel Edward Torrance. So, of course, I looked up the word Torrance, and I keep telling you I'm from Los Angeles, and I am. There is a place in Los Angeles County, and some of you listening might know about it, or maybe even you've been there. I know I have. The name of the place is Torrance. And in American English, it's a city in Southwest California, suburb of Los Angeles. According to this here, population 138,000. Yes, this is a suburb. There's a lot of people in Los Angeles. Word origin. Okay, it's named after Jared S. Torrance, who was a local landowner. This is a picture of Torrance Beach. Okay, cool. Not the best picture, by the way. Ew, what were they thinking? But that's all they say about it. It's a city in Southwest California, southwest of Los Angeles, developed rapidly with the discovery of oil. Yeah. Okay, so I wasn't satisfied with this. Of course he didn't. I don't think he named the family after the city, Torrance, California. Absolutely not. But I did one more quick little search, and I came up with this. Torrance, baby name, meaning origin, middle name, pairings, and more. This is from, a website called Moms Who Think. Okay, cool. Let's read. That's what we do here. Torrance is a powerful traditional baby name, reminiscent of ancient Gaelic culture. Torrance has become an iconic name for men, women, and landmarks. Torrance is the name of an unforgettable character in the Shining series, and Torrance is also the name of a famous coastal community in Los Angeles, County, California. Keep reading to learn more about this name. Okay, I will. Meaning of the name Torrance. Old Gaelic, it means hill or mound. In Old Irish, it means chieftain or lord. This is going to become important real quick. Torrance, origin of the name Torrance. Torrance is an alternative spelling of Torrance, okay, with an E. Both names derive from the Old Gaelic term Toran, meaning hillock, mound, or lord. Okay? Alternatively, Torrance is also an elaboration of the Old Irish name Toran, meaning chief or lord. Chief or lord. Symbolism. This is getting better and better. Symbolism of the name Torrance. Torrance originates from the Old Gaelic word for hill, or the Old Irish word for chieftain or lord. In both ancient cultures, chieftains used craggy hillocks as centers of power. I talked about that in one of my videos recently. Like temples were always situated on higher ground, or platforms would be built for them. Ziggurats in Mesopotamia. Anyway, various functions of the hillocks included burial mounds, as well as ceremonial rituals. And I also mentioned it in the context of The Shining. The Overlook is situated on top of a mountain. Is it a temple? Who knows? And they talk about how the hotel, Stuart Ullman mentions this, that the hotel is built on an ancient Indian burial ground. Well. Says burial mounds right here. Anyway, famous archaeological evidence of such hillocks include the Torran rock sites in the United Kingdom. The symbol of Gaelic ceremonial was the anvil. Okay, this is going to become important in my other videos where I talk about mythological things. I already talked about the word smite and the word oh Lord, zachalom. Okay? The Hebrew word for diamond. I hope that I got it right. Oh Lord, speaking of Lord. But the word diamond, no, not zachalom, yachalom, sorry. And the word yachalom means to strike or to smite, usually with a hammer. And what do smiths do? Blacksmiths, metalsmiths, whatever kind of smiths, they forge tools, weapons made of metal. And they have furnaces to heat the metal, and then they have hammers to strike or smite the metal. And what is that usually done on? Anvils. Oh, Jesus. Again, Zayin and Yahalom. Okay, wait a minute. Now, what else we got here? Pronunciation, emotion. I don't know if we need any of this, but okay. So, this is what the name Torrance means. Hill, hillock, or chieftain, or lord. And I told you. Chieftain or lord. Anvils. Yahalam. Zayin. Gods, goddesses. Roman. What is it? Well, what was it? This thing. Roman naming conventions. Long-ass, snooty names. By upper-class people. John, Daniel, Edward. Torrance. I covered John. Jack. The whole thing, right? Daniel. Yeah, we talked about. Where is he? We talked about Daniel. Book of Daniel and Daniel himself. Okay. Talked about Torrance just now. What did it say? It said, hillock, craggy hillocks, or chieftain, or lord. Cool. Did I talk about Edward? I mentioned it briefly. Edward is the name of an English king. King Edward the First. There have been 8 of them, as far as, the monarchy, the British monarchy. The latest one died in 1910. I think that was Queen Elizabeth's grandfather. Queen Elizabeth II's grandfather was Edward, and her father was George. I don't know which number. The latest one, I guess. So Edward the Eighth was Queen Elizabeth's grandfather, and he's named after, I assume, the first Edward the First of England. Edward the First of England lived from 1239 to 1307. So, he was, 66 years old when he died. Okay. Also known as Edward Longshanks and the Hammer of the Scots, was King of England from 1272 to 1307. Concurrently, he was Lord of Ireland, and from 1254 to 1306 he ruled Gascony as Duke of Aquitaine, and his capacity as a vassal of the French king. Before his accession to the throne, he was commonly referred to as the Lord Edward. The eldest son of Henry III, Edward was involved from an early age in the political intrigues of his father's reign. Anyway, I stopped reading when I saw Lord Edward. Alright? Okay. I said, wait a minute. Wait a minute. And if you stuck around in this video long enough to get to this point, congratulations, you made it. Okay. Lord Edward. What the hell? What in the world? Okay. His predecessor was Henry III, and now, normally I would go through all of them, but not tonight. Not tonight. I've been through enough already tonight. Some other night. So I don't know how much more I should read of this. The eldest son of Henry III, he was involved in his father's political intrigues. He briefly sided with a baronial reform movement supporting the provisions of Oxford. I don't know what that is. After reconciliation with his father, he remained loyal throughout the subsequent armed conflict known as the Second Barons' War. After the Battle of Lewes, Edward was held hostage by the rebellious barons, but escaped after a few months and defeated the baronial leader Simon de Montfort at the Battle of Evesham in 1265. Okay. I mean, we could read forever and ever about forever and ever. Yeah. We're talking about The Shining here. I did not know that he expelled the Jews from England in 1290. He is also often condemned for his wars against Scotland and for expelling the Jews from England in 1290. I don't know why he did that, because I just found out about this individual this evening. But he seems like a real picnic, And this is a portrait of him in Westminster Abbey, likely depicting Edward I, installed sometime during his reign. Oh, Lord. Lord. I don't know what to think. He was involved in the Crusades. Edward pledged himself to undertake a crusade in an elaborate ceremony on the 24th of June, 1268, with his brother Edmund Crouchback and cousin Henry of Almaine. Some of Edward's former adversaries, such as John de Vesci and the 7th Earl of Gloucester, similarly committed themselves. Oh, Lord, wait, not the Crusades. Map of they went to the Holy Land. Oh, Stanley. Now, I already showed you in Stanley's Wikipedia biography that as a youngster he was fascinated by mythology, Greek, Roman mythology. And I mean, he probably read a little bit of everything, and he probably had probably a pretty broad knowledge of history and or mythology, ancient and more modern. Like, what are the odds, you guys, that that Stanley maybe even read about King Edward the First and knew that King Edward the First went on a crusade to the Holy Land. Oh, my goodness. My goodness. I mean, like, what was going on in the Holy Land during that time in history? Like, in my recent video about how to get better grades without trying, misspellings and all. Okay. Like, they don't teach us they don't teach us jack in school about, like, any of this stuff. Maybe part of the reason they don't teach us, especially in elementary school, junior high school, is they don't have that kind of time, you know? But that's, that's one consideration. They don't have the kind of time to teach us about this stuff. But, and that's fine, I guess. That's an okay reason. They really don't have that kind of time. However, and I mean, the system is set up precisely so that they don't have a lot of time to teach you much of anything. But they're also not, the problem is that they're not good at fostering a love of learning for young people. They could at least do that. I don't know where I got mine. I don't know where I got my love of learning and reading and whatever. I told you I'm not a good reader. I told you, like, this video was my attempt at helping people who are similar to me, not good at reading, don't like reading, feel like school is a necessity, like what do we call it, a necessary evil. Somehow I made the best of it, and I love learning now, especially like this. Like, if you have the internet, you have the world at your fingertips, and you can learn about this stuff thanks to websites like Wikipedia, thanks to Google, thanks to online digital libraries and digital books, and archive.org, and websites or platforms like YouTube, and even social media. These are Reddit. Yeah, these are things where you can learn a lot of stuff if you want to. And somebody has to teach you how to want to and why to want to. They don't do that in school. They don't. I know I didn't learn that in school. I learned that somewhere else. I don't know. My parents didn't let me watch TV as a youngster. Like, right up until, like, high school, I was not allowed to watch TV. So that might have something to do with it. I just don't know. I don't know what to think. But anyway, so he went on a crusade. This Edward I character expelled the Scots and the Jews. Wow. I need to read more about this. I know I'll find something. But, you guys, like, what are the odds? Lord Edward and Torrance means hill or chieftain or lord. And here he is, John Daniel Edward Torrance, better known as Jack. Oh my God. And Danny, I definitely do connect him to the biblical Daniel. Wendy is Winnie the Pooh and Wendy Darling. If the Edward in John Daniel Edward Torrance is related, or he is meant to remind you or make you, like, look it up and research King Edward I of England, who's also known as the Lord Edward, or was known also as the Lord Edward, at least before he became king, I assume. What does that mean, you guys? What does that mean? What's in a name? What's in a name? What's going on? What are we really meant to learn from this movie, The Shining? What are we really, really meant to learn from, yeah, from this? It won't enlarge it very much. I wish it had a better picture, but it doesn't. What are we meant to learn from this? What are we meant to learn from her? You know? What are we meant to learn from the little guy, Daniel Anthony Torrance? Ay. What in the world is going on? I mean, I've been here, there, and everywhere in this video, right? Book of Daniel, the biblical figure, Antonius, the Heracles. Okay, I mean, I know I've got more to do. I'm just showing you all the stuff I've been through. You know, the ancient Romans lying about their divine lineage, so that to legitimize their rule over, like, basically lying on their resume. You guys, let me know what you think. Have I done anything? Have I said anything? Have I succeeded in any way, shape, or form at, shining a light on The Shining? Y'all let me know. What's in a name? What's in a name? What is in a name? Tell me, help me. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to use as my thumbnail either. Not this. This is gruesome. But I'll find something. I think I will. But something doesn't make sense about any of this. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm back. I just had to, you guys. Edward is an English male given name. It is derived from the Anglo-Saxon name Eadward, composed of the elements Ead, meaning wealth, fortune, prosperous, and Ward, meaning guardian or protector. So it means like the guardian of... Yeah. The name, Edward, means the guardian of wealth, fortune, prosperity. And this, our Edward here, John Daniel Edward Torrance, jack of all trades, master of none. Daniel, somebody who has visions, prophetic visions. And Edward, the guard of wealth. And Torrance is the Lord, or Lord, Chieftain, or Hill. Oh boy. And he's been given the job as caretaker, and or, also known as guard, of a place that, a building that has a room called the Gold Room contained within it. And it happens to be up on top of a mountain. And there's a chance that he also has, visions. That he also has the shine to him, as Halloran would say. Ooh, boy. Like, Daniel. And he's a jack of all trades. And he's, he wields an axe in this movie. So that makes him a lumberjack, for sure. I don't know. Y'all, let me know what you think. Let me know whether or not I've lost my mind. Help me. And if you made it this far, congratulations. I will pick a thumbnail. I will do my description. I will put all of these links in the description. And that's it. I am done for now. I've been doing this for over 2 hours. So, like I said, that's it. So until next time. Until the next video where I find yet another reason to talk at you, I'll go ahead and bid you bye-bye. So, bye-bye, everybody.